Good morning, everyone. I'm Tricia Holm with Homemade Smart, and summer has finally arrived in the Pacific Northwest, and I am so glad to get some vitamin D. Man, nothing says summer like a cool, refreshing glass of fresh brewed iced tea. In today's instant gratification, you can find we want things right now. But the old saying that good things come to those who wait is a very good thing, because homemade iced tea and fresh brewed iced tea is some of the tastiest, most refreshing beverages you can have in the summertime or any time at all. Now, in the grocery store, you can find ready bottled iced tea, and it has chemicals, and some of it has chemicals and preservatives and flavorings and all that other kind of yucky stuff. Even the natural or organic stuff still has flavors and other things in it. And making your own iced tea is just very, very simple, and there's nothing better than a fresh glass of iced tea that you made yourself. Now, we're going to make it from scratch in a big stock pot. There are commercial iced tea makers that you can buy, which are very similar to coffee makers. You don't need to go to that expense. That's just an added expense you just don't need. And here at Homemade Smart, we're all about saving money and doing things from scratch. So, what I'm going to show you today are two different versions of iced tea. The first one is a regular unsweetened iced tea, and the other one is going to be a southern sweet tea. Very simple. Both are very, very simple to make. So what I have here is a stock pot, and this is going to hold 2 gallons of cold water. So I have some water in here already. I'm just going to add the other gallon to it. And what we're going to do is these are Rubbermaid 1 gallon container pitchers. Are plastic, Rubbermaid. I love them. They've got the lids. They come in a variety of colors. They're wonderful for iced tea, and they fit really, really nice in the refrigerator. So we're going to put the iced tea back in there when we're all done. So in here we have 2 gallons of cold water, and to that we're going to add our tea. Now, there's many different kinds of tea on the market today. The tea industry has really come out. They've got flavored teas, they've got herbal teas. Any type of iced tea that you want to make, you can make. And what I have here is just regular old-fashioned Lipton, regular black pekoe tea, and we're going to go ahead and put them in the cold water and brew them together. Now, for I like my iced tea a little bit strong, and you'll want to do that because when you pour it over the ice, it's going to dilute it. So you do want it a little bit on the strong side. So I'm going to use, for every 1 gallon of water, I use 6 tea bags, regardless if it's Earl Grey or if it's mint iced tea, peppermint iced tea, or whatever. I'm going to use that because it's going to make it really nice and strong. Then when you pour it over the ice, it'll dilute it a little bit. So we're just going to put 12 tea bags in here. Now again, this is a Lipton, and so what I do is when you normally steep your own little, if you're just having a nice cup of tea in the evening or whatnot, you just put your tea bag in the bag or in your cup and steep it like that. But since this is going to sink down into the water, I'm going to remove the paper as well as the little staple that's on there. So we're just going to remove that and put 12 tea bags in the water here. And they're going to float or sink down to the bottom once they get saturated. So this is plain 2 gallons of water, and we're going to just put that on the stove, and we're going to let it boil. Okay, we've got the oven going, the cooktop going. We're going to go ahead and let it boil. Once it boils, we're just going to turn it off and let it cool. Once it's cooled, then we'll go ahead and put it over into the pitchers and stuff. So I have a pot that's already done. All right. Now, this one I made, it has cooled, and the tea bags are still inside here. So I'm going to get my ladle and get these tea bags out of here. We drink a lot of tea, and it's just such a nice thing to have in the summertime or any time really. I don't just do seasonal foods or things like that because I just like to have iced tea all the time. So we're just going to remove these tea bags here, and go ahead and squeeze them out a little bit, and I'll just give it more of the tea in there. And now this one is all nice and cool. And we're just going to go ahead and put it back into our things. Make sure you get all the tea bags. You don't want to have a little floating tea bag in there. I think that's about right. And it's really nice and dark, which means it's really strong, and it's going to lighten up as soon as we put it into the water or into the pitcher of ice. Now, here's our Rubbermaid containers. We have ice cubes in there. You can fill all the way to the top if you want or not. So I'm going to, these can get a little bit messy, so I'm going to get my other ladle here to just kind of pour this in here because it doesn't have a spout on it, so I don't want it to get all over the place. So we're just going to pour this into over the ice here and just make some really great iced tea. So it's really, really simple. Now, the great thing about this is I've made a whole bunch. Now, we have 7 in our family, and we go through beverages and iced tea like there's no tomorrow. And so what you can do is if you have extra, let's say you only have 4 in your family, and maybe you don't, only one of you likes iced tea, and you make a big batch, it might sit there all week, and that's fine. But you make 2 gallons. Gosh, Tricia, I'm not going to drink all that. Well, that's okay, because what you're going to do is you're going to save it and freeze it. And then I'm going to show you how to do that too. So we're just going to fill this one up a little bit more. And then I'm going to show you, when we get done with this, I'm going to show you how we make sweet tea. Now this is unsweetened iced tea, which has got no sugar. Some people don't like sugar in their iced tea, and if you're from the South, you like a lot of sweet, most of you like sweet tea, and sometimes the sweet tea can get really almost too sweet. So for my sweet tea, I like to kind of dilute it a little bit, and what I do is I just use a little tiny bit of sugar. So there is our fresh brewed iced tea, and we have extra. We have extra in our bowl here, in our pot. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some into mason jars and freeze them. And yes, you can freeze in glass. You just have to make sure that you're going to leave a little bit of room, because when liquid freezes, it does expand. So you want to make sure that you don't put it all the way to the tippy top, because it will break the glass, and then that's another problem we'll have. So just like in regular canning jars, here is a small-mouthed mason jar. Put on a colander funnel here, and basically just do the same thing. And you don't need to put, obviously, the ice in here because it's going to go ahead and freeze it. So we're just going to put all the extra in here, or you can put it into another pitcher if you have that as well. That's just completely up to you. And you can freeze these, and then when you need iced tea, let's say, oh, you know, you want iced tea in the evening when you get home from work and you're just about done, take it out and let it thaw. And then by the time you get home from work, you've got fresh brewed iced tea, and you can just go ahead and enjoy it as much as you like. So I'm going to put just... So there we go. So I've filled it right up to the very rim, or up to the very bottom of the threads here, and that's as far as you want to go, because it is going to expand, and you don't want it to go any further than that. And you don't need to seal it, you don't need to cook it or anything like that. Just put the lid on it, put it in the freezer, and you're good to go. Freeze it, and it will expand a little bit, and then you'll know. And make sure that you put labels on there so you know what it is. Gosh, is that iced tea or is that chicken or beef broth? That would probably be problematic, I think. So we want to make sure we know what it is. So put a label on there so that you know what it is. And I have my handy-dandy little labels right here. And, sorry, stepping out of frame here, guys. So what I do is I'm just going to put on there that it's iced tea. And I'm going to put on there the day that I made it so that I know, okay, this is fresh batch. And I always, when I worked in restaurants, we always rotated to make sure that we knew what was the most, we want to use the stuff that is going to expire first or was first made or whatever the case may be. So I'm just going to put iced tea and today's date, and going to put that on this label, on this mason jar here so that I know what it is. Go ahead, put it on there, put it in the freezer, freeze it, and then I'm going to have iced tea at a moment's notice. So that is that, and there's, and so now we're going to enjoy our iced tea. So, and now the other thing is with iced tea, you can slice lemons if you want. You can put lemons in there. Some people like lemons, some people don't. It's just totally up to you, whatever you want to do. So I've got my glass here. We're going to make sure that this is all nice and it's sat over the ice a little bit. Perfect. There's nothing better than sweet, refreshing iced tea. Wonderful. Now, sweet tea. We talked about that. Now that I have my pot boiling, it's not quite boiling yet, but the key to sweet tea, what I was told, is the fact that you put the sugar in while the water is getting hot, so it all cooks together. So while the tea bags are steeping in the water, the hot water, it's going to steep and get sugar and sweeten that way. I don't like real sweet iced tea personally. I love sweet tea, but just a little bit enough to kind of take the edge off. So I'm going to use a half a cup per half gallon. So, a half a cup per gallon. So I have 2 gallons in there. I'm going to use 1 full cup of sugar. That's going to dissolve, and again, it's really strong, so it's going to, the sweetness is going to help kind of dilute that strong flavor a little bit. So I'm going to get out my sugar, and as this is brewing, like I said, we're going to go ahead and put the sugar inside. So 1 second, let me step over here and get my cup. I forgot to do that. I just want to thank my helpers here today. My kids are helping me do my filling, so they're being great helpers today. So we've got 1 cup of regular sugar. Now I use organic raw sugar. It's not nearly as processed as the white sugar. If you don't want to use organic, it's not a big deal, but I do use the raw sugar. It's not nearly as processed, and so I like that. So what we're going to do is just put this in with the water while it's going to boil here in just a little while. And just give it a little stir, a little bit of a stir, and that way the tea bags, as you can see, I think you can see there, the tea bags are in there, and as they get saturated with the water, they will go ahead and sit down or sink down to the bottom. And you don't want to do any more stirring. You don't want to do anything like that. You just want to let them steep. And as the water boils, it will go ahead and brew. Once it is boiling, go ahead and just turn off your cooktop, and the tea will stop boiling, and it will just cool. Let it cool to room temperature. Or if you can't wait, go ahead and just take a ladle and scoop it into a glass with some ice, and slice up a lemon and put it in there, and that's it. So, and the nice thing is that if you're doing a bunch, if you are a huge iced tea lover and you love to have lots of iced tea, the best thing about this is that once this is on the stove, then you can go out and do something else, and it is your ultimate multitasking. So that's what's so great about this too. So we've got it on the stove. Once it's done, then you can go ahead and freeze whatever is left and use it whenever you need to. So there, then thaw it and enjoy it anytime in the middle of the winter, anytime you want to enjoy a nice refreshing glass of iced tea. And you know what? It's homemade and it didn't take very long. So enjoy and have a great day. We'll see you next time on Homemade Smart.